You may remember this shirt as having sleeves, and it did, but they were too tight, so snip snip. This is the shirt I showed you last time when I was like, this is the poet pirate shirt I've been talking about. I knew that I would have to cut off the sleeves to make it wearable for me, which I thought would probably happen. Um, but this one has a more it has that iconic lace up V in the front that I love so much. So I decided to use it as the example poet shirt, and I thought I would do that before I altered it, just as an example of this is what they look like when they're sewn. Um, I got two shirts from two pirate shirts from the website I mentioned, Medieval Collectibles, not sponsored or anything, but they have a lot of cool um, Renaissance and like steampunk, Gothic, all sorts of different non-standard but really cool clothing. So I got some stuff from there, and I really wanted this shirt, but the only one they had, the only size they had was a small medium. So I thought, well, I may as well get it and just see what that size is like on me, because I happen to also be getting a large and an extra large in different um, other shirts. So this way I can sort of see the full range of what this site's clothing sizes are like on me. And it turns out the body of the tunic fits really well. Like it's really roomy. So I think it's probably supposed to be like a very loose tunic type thing that you gather at the waist with the belt or something. Um, the sleeves, like they had those really cool details on them with the almost like the cuffs on different parts of the sleeves. Looking for the sleeves I cut off. If my hair looks different, it's because I just washed it and it's still wet. My crochet elbow pillow line says hi. I found a sleeve finally. So as you can see, they had these lots of little cool details like this. Like this is where the armhole would be. Then it had a cuff here and then a cuff further down before we get to the gathered wrist cuff. And I would love to have something like that if the sleeve were a lot looser. So when I first tried it on, I was like, okay, I'm not sure if I can wear this because it's pretty small. But then I thought, well, I could wear it if I just cut off the sleeves, and then it could be like a casual, gothy summer tunic, and that way I can still use the piece of clothing that I bought, and then next time I can try um, um, a bigger size. As I mentioned last time, I have a lifelong speech impediment. I stutter. Often shows up as blockage. Um, the less well known but more severe type of stuttering is when you block and like your face just freezes up because nothing will happen, no sound will come out, you can't make your mouth do the right thing. It's really uncomfortable and embarrassing. So thank you to the people who've been really kind and supportive about me being open about my stuttering. So yeah. But anyway, the shirts. I got another one. I thought, well, I'll just try the extra large to see what happens with that. And it's loose enough that I'm actually really comfortable in it. Even with the long sleeves, and like between my sensory issues and the heat, I can't wear long sleeves very often, and we will get to the crocheted poet shirt soon. But yeah, this is the other one, but I didn't show that one because it doesn't have the lace up bit. So yeah, this is what we're working on, the second draft of. And again, this is a really casual crochet along vlog type thing. I'm still working on ironing out the kinks of my design. Oh, and this is part 2, so you can find part 1 in the playlist. Oh right, I was gonna say one more thing about how I altered this. Um, I actually kind of like the unfinished look. I was hoping that it would be big enough if I just cut it off at the seam, so I wouldn't have to worry about any fraying. It was not big enough. My arms are chunky. And so I tried just putting some safety pins on here, for that old school goth look, but I was still getting fraying, so I did run a small sewing, like I ran my sewing machine over about an inch from the hem. I didn't do it any closer because I didn't want to bother taking out the safety pins, but I'm hoping that will at least stop the fraying. Then I'm gonna wash it and we'll see what happens then. But anyway. Right, time for this. Last time we were working on the right front panel, and I realized this is flipped for you, but this is my right. I think I'm just gonna wait to flip the video in my new place because it would be weird to start now and then my background's different. But I got to about here, and this is where we have to not fully stop the increases on this side, but we have to slow them down because we want to leave some room for the lace up bit. And I realized that the way I was doing things, the other side, which I said we wanted to be straight for the armhole, is actually slanting in, at least on mine, just a little bit, but it is. So I'm thinking, well, we've gotten to about here, so halfway down the armhole. What if we just slightly curved it back out for the rest of the armhole down to here? Well, the armhole goes further than that. Maybe we'll figure that out later. So at least we can stop it from slanting any further, and that would be kind of a nice natural curvature, I think, for that, or shaping for that part of the pattern. This is my first wearable pattern that I'm trying to put out there, but I'm really proud of it, and also overwhelmed. So like, I certainly welcome feedback. Earlier, I was trying to reverse the right front panel for the left side, and it's a little bit confusing. Like I've obviously I did that, and I have my notes, but writing it in a way that makes sense and is like standardized is kind of hard. So this is partly to help me figure out what I'm doing, because I kind of learn by doing, so it's nice to just be doing stuff. Um, as I said last time, I'm using 4-weight yarn. It's the Furls Wander acrylic, and it's in Campfire. That's the colorway, and a 5mm hook. And we were just repeating rows 2 and 3 from last time until we got to where we wanted gonna have to redo the last bit of this row because it came undone, but until we got to where we wanted to, basically on this shirt we got to here, so we're stopping the pronounced in increases and making the increases much more gradual for this, so we can lace up the V. So we're just, oh right, I forgot we were doing treble crochet in this part. Okay, so this is clearly the armhole side because it's almost slanting inward. So right, so this is a row 2 equivalent, and I'm not supposed to chain after the last V stitch. Instead, I just chain in the turning chain, or sorry, I treble. My glass of oat milk with honey. I really miss milk, which is sad because I'm lactose intolerant, at least somewhat now. But this is, like, I don't like the taste of oat milk, but when you put honey in it, it's almost like when you put chocolate syrup in milk or something. So yeah, it's a good alternative. Right, so now we're at the point where we need to start so I had to ask some of my family to not have loud conversations on the stairs or downstairs where I'm trying to film after 10:30 p.m. at night. That's why I film so late, so I hopefully don't mess with other people's daily schedules, because I don't have a room that I can go into and shut the door and film, just due to some recent life circumstances. But that will change soon. which I'm very much looking forward to. Gonna have my own place with my own, space and scheduling needs. So, um, sorry if I sound a bit frustrated. I'm trying not to be too negative on here, but the nice thing is I did take the time while I was waiting for that to, you know, get dealt with, to figure out how I want to change the armhole side in the next part. So this is my current idea. Again, this is a work in progress, a draft. So we've ended on an even row. So we begin with an odd row, and instead of chaining 4, we chain 5 and turn, and I have us starting from the armhole side, and this is just to make the chain 5 is just to offset the inward slant, so we'll see what happens with that. And then we just continue let me make sure I understand how we're doing this side. Oh, that's interesting. Let me check the pattern. All right. Well, we're working a treble in the first chain 1 space. Then we're supposed to work the V stitch. I have no idea if we're supposed to chain 1 first. So I'm gonna do that. And then we start the V stitch, starting from the first chain 1 space. So the same space we were just in. The second leg of this V stitch was a double by accident. And as a reminder, I'm doing a modified version of the V stitch with trebles. It is sort of like it's basically a decrease where you combine 2 stitches into one. So there's 2 at the bottom and then they kind of merge. And then there's a chain 1 in between each of those. So that's what I do. I also found out today that I might be doing the decrease, at least with double crochet, wrong. I mean, I like my way and it works. The thing about crochet is that you can pretty much do anything, and you might have just invented a new stitch, but as long as it works and it looks the way you want it to. But since I am trying to do this professionally, I'd like to at least know. So, like, it seems like I may have been doing the loops and the yarn overs in the wrong order in the double crochet 2 two together, but we're not doing many of those right now, so that's fine. All right, we just continue across until we get to the end of the row. Let me know what yarn you're using if you happen to be making this along with me. Definitely be excited to hear about that. Speaking of yarn, I got a whole bunch of yarn from a friend who was clearing out their spare yarn and was like, "Hey, do you want some extra yarn?" I was like, "Yes, of course." And what I didn't know at the time, like I would have loved it regardless, but it's really fancy yarn. Like a bunch of it is like alpaca and various types of wool, and there's a lot of linen and cotton. I'm just like, wow. I usually just work with um, acrylic, so this is a new world. I have been wanting to get into plant fibers, especially for my summer wardrobe, so they can breathe more, and also because I've my current hyper focus is turning the bast fibers of plants into yarn or cordage, or just those really old methods of like you dry out the plant and you beat it to get the um barky and like wood 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 woody bits off, and then you rub it and like you know get the fibers to emerge, and it's really cool. I cannot wear things probably that involve wool, but that's also cool. I'll be using them for something that's not against my skin. Okay, so now we're at the end of this row, and we end before making the chain one treble. So let's see, when I have a V-stitch with one leg in the last chain one space and one leg in the turning chain, we complete that one, then we chain one and do one more V-stitch, and normally or previously we would chain one and then do another just standalone treble, so it keeps increasing that way, but we're just going to end it after this extra V-stitch in this turning chain, and then we turn, and that was an odd row because we're supposed to change the odd rows first. And now the even rows, we begin by chaining 4 so that it doesn't I think we used chain 5 if I'm correct, and then this way it doesn't keep slanting out as much. So chaining 4 would basically be the equivalent of just a treble crochet instead of a treble plus chain 1 or something like that. And then work a treble crochet into the first chain 1 space. Okay, so that's here between these last two V stitches in the previous row. And that's just a standalone treble. And then we chain 1 and continue with our V stitches. Might be fun to show you how I'm doing the V-stitch treble. So I yarn over the hook twice, put it in the first chain 1 space, bring the yarn through. Wait, after I put the hook through, I yarn over, bring that yarn through. So now there are, well, counting this one back here, there are 4 loops on the hook. Then I yarn over, bring it up through 2 loops. Now there are 3 loops. Yarn over, bring it up through another 2 loops. There's a little extra end here, but I don't think that's worth cutting and reattaching the yarn. And then we're starting our second leg of the thing, so we just yarn over 2 more times. And then we put the hook where we want the second leg to be anchored, in this case in the second chain 1 space. And, you know, yarn over. Bring the yarn up. And now we have 5 loops on the hook. Yarn over and bring through 2 of them. Yarn over, bring it through the next 2. Now we have 3, and then we yarn over and bring it through the last 3. So it's kind of like a half double crochet at the top, the way I do it anyway. Then we chain 1 and just carry on. I automatically just did 1 yarn over because I'm used to doing double crochet. Some people are like half double is their go-to, but my autopilot is double crochet. And after this, I'm going to check the length. I suspect I'll have to do a few more rows before we get to the decorative stripe, which is the next part of the instructions. But we will see. I might do that part in the next video so we can get caught up on this part and then move on. Because otherwise I might be here a while if I'm trying to crochet the whole thing on camera and also talk about interesting stuff, which I like doing. I'm just like, it's hard to do both at once. And since I'm at the end of this row, maybe I should look at how we're ending this. Right, this is an even row, so... Oh, okay. So we have our last V-stitch in the last two chain one spaces. And before we were just treble crocheting right in the chain stitch without chaining one, and now we are chaining one and then treble crocheting in the chain space. I don't know if that will make it slant inwards less, but I hope so, and we'll just find out. Right, I said I was going to check the length, and I think I do need a stitch marker. I bought these awesome ones from my friend Winter, Crafty Silent Lamb on Etsy. If I remember, I'll try to link their shop down below. So I'm going to put this in where we started the slightly less... The neighbors are also being loud, so I'm going to put this in where we started the new set of slightly less intense increases, which I think was 2 rows ago. There. Little yoga skeleton. I love it. And sorry for the blur. My camera doesn't like to focus on close-up things when it's in this mode, apparently. So, right, this should be using the camera as a mirror. Okay, good. We're on we're on the right side. So let's compare with our previous draft. So by decorative stripe, I mean this, not the black yarn yet, but just like the base for it. So I want it to go almost to the bottom of my armhole. And I wonder how many rows I did, because like each of these V's, it's a pretty clear row. The rows are very tall. That'll happen with treble crochet. So that's interesting. I missed 2 loops on, and when I was lacing this up, on one of them is on the top and the other one is the second one down. I don't know how that happened, but in any case, let's say this top loop represents where we started tonight's change of the pattern. Modified version of row 2 and 3 from last time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yeah, we could just, well, I could plan on doing 4 more rows in the way that I just did 2 of them. And Yeah, I kind of like how this is not like there is a definite point right here where it kind of changes from slanting this way to just mildly slanting down into a V shape, and I do have to go a bit further. I'm gonna see how where doing 4 more rows falls on my body with this yarn. And I'm also going to see what happens with the inward slant, at least on this part of the armhole, and then hopefully this straightens out a bit. But it looks pretty pronounced to me right now, like the arm seam will have to be way back here. Pardon my skin, my armpit, but like yeah, and but I don't think that's a problem because the armhole has such a like the shoulder's so poofy, so you kind of want it to be over the arm hole and just like so yeah, we will adjust as we go. And again, I'm really looking for feedback and also like even official testers if you want to be one of those. Feel free to contact me here or on Instagram at Thornwing Crochet. There's an underscore under each of those, between each of the words. Yeah, so I think Banros and I will see you a different time. Banros being my goat, of course. So have a good gothy crochet night. Bye.